Hey, Tom Rabbit! I hope you got this for your recording. Hey, YouTube out there. Tom Rabbit likes to record these. Hey, Tom Rabbit!
Well, here, look, maybe Darth can pipe up because he's in here right now. Darth, before you said that you liked this formalization where we say, if God exists, then you know he exists. You don't know he exists, therefore he doesn't exist. You like that way of putting it, right?
Well, that's your way of formulating it. By the way, I'm very limited in my talk time because I'm working at the moment, but go ahead.
That's okay. Well, you signed off on that before, but are you saying you now don't sign off on that?
No, I just said I wouldn't express it precisely in that manner.
How would you express it then?
Very, very, very simply. God says you know that he exists. And if you say you don't know that God exists, then you're just psychologically deceiving yourself.
Oh, right. So it's just God says you believe that he exists, and you say you don't believe he exists.
Yeah, my ultimate standard for what is true is the mind of God and how he has revealed it.
We're trying to explore the argument about how agnosticism entails a contradiction. Could you lay that one out for us? If you have time, you don't have to. If you're busy, don't worry about it.
Yeah, if you say, and I'll just be very brief. If you say, I do not know that any God exists, then the Christian God is specifically defined as being revelatory. So if you don't know that any God exists, then it follows from that the Christian God does not exist.
Right. Okay.
Right?
But
then,
sorry. Go ahead.
So then you then know, if you take it to be true that you do not know that any creator God exists, then it would follow from that the Christian God does not exist, and therefore you know that at least one creator God doesn't exist, contradicting your agnostic position.
Wait, but see, the thing that weirds me out there is you are using that modus tollens. You're saying, if God exists, then you know it. You don't know it, therefore he doesn't exist. All that takes you to is he doesn't exist. It doesn't take you to you're making a statement that he doesn't exist. So I don't see where the contradiction's coming from.
No, you added something that I didn't say. I said, if you claim that you do not know that any God exists, if that statement is taken to be true, then it would follow from that the Christian God does not exist, because the Christian God is defined as being revelatory.
Right, but now you want to jump to you know it, right? Because you would then know that the Christian God does not exist. But you're jumping from the conclusion of the argument, which is that he doesn't exist, to a further proposition that you know that he doesn't exist.
Okay. Would you, if you do not know that any God exists, would that therefore would it follow from that the Christian God does not exist?
Mm-hmm. According to your definition, yeah.
No, I'm asking you. If you truly do not know that any God exists, then you would know that the Christian God does not exist because the definition of the Christian God.
Wait.
The Christian God is defined as being revelatory.
Yeah, so I understand that here. I'll make sure I'm following you. If the Christian God exists, then we know it.
We've had this conversation 10 times already.
Yeah, but I think you're wrong, Darth.
Tell me how I'm wrong.
The reason that I think that you're wrong about this is that your argument concludes that God doesn't exist. It doesn't conclude that you're claiming it. So you have to make a further step and say something like that you have beliefs about all the entailments of your beliefs. And then you can get your
formalization is just really not very clear. Okay.
Well,
let's go through this again.
Yeah. Sorry. What's that, Alex?
Can I have a go at this? So God being revelatory means that if that God existed, then you'd know about it, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if I claim that I don't know about it, right? I mean, what's the difference between the second premise being I claim that, because I could claim that I don't know about it even when I do, right? So nothing really follows from me claiming that. Surely the second premise is if I don't know about it, then it follows that God doesn't exist, right? Because if he did, then I'd know about it.
That's how I'm thinking.
If I don't know about it, then he doesn't exist. Right? So that seems fairly straightforward. That's just saying, if P, then Q, not Q, therefore not P, right? That's really straightforward. So I think we can all agree about that. So you must be saying something more like, I really don't get it. How does it work if it's not that?
Who are you asking?
I'm asking you, Darth. It seems like it's your argument. So God's revelatory.
Yeah, well, if you don't know that any God
exists,
exists, if you do not know that any God exists, then it follows that the Christian God doesn't exist.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
But does it follow that you know that he doesn't
you'd
exist?
Know about it. Yeah. Exactly. I might not know that.
And that's why it's not a contradiction.
Right.
No, it is a contradiction, because if you say, I do not know that any God exists, and it therefore rules out the existence of the Christian God, then you do know that at least one God exists.
So there are things that can follow logically from what you believe that you don't believe, or things that can follow logically from what you know that you don't know. So, for instance, I know a bunch of maths, right? And there's some unproven mathematical conjecture. Now, that's either true or false, but I don't know it. But it does follow logically from stuff that I do know, because it follows logically from, like, the basic axioms of maths, right? One way or the other. It's just no one's figured that out yet. So that follows logically from stuff I know, but I don't know it, right? So it's obvious that there can be, even if you show that something follows logically from things that I know, that doesn't entail that I know that thing.
Yes. That's been my point for this whole thing. So Darth, can I just say one other thing? Then you can go for as long as you want. So one other thing I'd say is, I know you think I'm just throwing words at you, but a way to get around that would just to say that you know all the entailments of your beliefs. Then if one of the entailments of your beliefs is that God doesn't exist, then you can say you know that because you know all the entailments. But then you have to defend this weird claim that you know all the entailments of your beliefs.
If you assert that the Christian God is not known, okay? Would that be an entailment of agnosticism, that the Christian God is not known?
I just think that's like agnosticism is basically. Yeah, if you say you're
So is your agnosticism, does that include and entail that the Christian God is not known to exist?
Well, me specifically, I actually think that God's false. But yeah, an agnostic could say, I'm not sure whether the Christian God exists. And it follows by your argument from that he doesn't exist, right?
So now you previously told me you hold to the agnostic position. Now you're an atheist?
With respect to your God, I'm an atheist, yeah. But I'm just talking about a hypothetical
that's a childish response, okay? Atheism is not the disbelief in some gods, okay? Atheism is the disbelief and denial of all gods. Okay?
Oh, if atheism means...
This idea of atheism towards certain gods, that's ridiculous.
Darth, I can agree. Darth, I can agree with what... Okay, so if what you're saying, if you're talking about global atheism, I'm not a global atheist. You're right, yeah.
No, there's not non-global atheism. Atheism, it encompasses all God concepts, not some. Because then theists would be atheists.
Jew, 1 second. Wait, stop. Let him talk.
If that a-hole interjects, I will just leave.
Yeah,
okay?
I was actually standing up for you there, Darth. So right now it's Darth versus, he's got Malpass with his philosophy PhD, and there's Angstrike, and there's me, and there's you. So yeah, let's let him finish his sentences, because it's one Christian versus like 50 atheists. So what were you saying, Darth?
Yeah, your position is, I do not know that Christian God exists. Right?
So are you asking me or Malpass? Are you asking me?
I'm asking you. Is it your position?
Well, is it
your position, you do not know the Christian God exists.
Well, with your God, I think he doesn't exist. So if that's what you want me to say. But that's going to take us away
from
this
conversation. Your position is you do not know the Christian God exists.
Well, I would say he doesn't exist by your definition.
That's not what I asked you. I said, is it your position you do not know that? Now I'm confused, because formally you told me you held to agnosticism.
Yeah, so I think what's the confusion is that you don't want me to divide up agnosticism and atheism by gods, so we're talking past each other.
Is it your position that there is no creator-creation distinction?
Shit. I have to step away from 1 sec. Just talk to Malpass or someone. I'll come back, though.
So, Alex, if somebody says, if somebody's position entails, I do not know that the Christian God exists, then it follows from that the denial of the Christian God's existence. Because the Christian God is defined as having made himself known.
So the first premise is, if that Christian God existed, then I'd know that that Christian God existed. And the second premise is, I don't know that that Christian God exists. Then it follows logically that that Christian God doesn't exist. It doesn't follow logically that I know that he doesn't exist, though.
It follows that that it entails the denial of the existence of God.
It entails that the proposition that that God exists is false, but it doesn't entail that I know that that proposition is false.
Now, what follows, Alex, is that if you claim that you do not know that the Christian God exists, if that statement is true, I do not know the Christian God exists, then it follows from that the falsity of the existence of the Christian God.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
Okay.
So if the Christian God is revelatory, then the fact that I don't know that he
now,
exists
I
agree
with you. Right, I agree with you. Somebody might not see the connection and entailment.
But it just sounds like an argument.
But I'm focusing on the entailment of the position, Alex.
Yeah, the entailment of the position is it's just a refutation of Christianity, right?
Right.
Because I don't know that he exists. He doesn't.
Yeah.
So Christianity is false because I don't know that it's true.
And agnosticism is also a self-contradiction because it's indirectly making the claim that
it's not a contradiction in agnosticism. It's a refutation of Christianity based on the fact that I don't believe.
No, the agnostic position is a contradiction.
No, you think it's a contradiction because you think that what follows is that I don't know that he exists. Right? You're switching.
If you don't know the Christian God exists, then you know by your own position that there's at least one God doesn't exist.
No, you don't. It doesn't follow logically that you know that there's one God that doesn't exist. It follows logically that there is.
Of course it does. Of course it does, Alex.
No, it doesn't.
It most certainly does. If I say I do not know that this God who has made himself known exists, then if it is true that you do not know that, then that God doesn't exist.
Yeah, I agree. But it doesn't further follow that I know that that God doesn't exist. That's the step that I'm saying.
Well, only if you're an idiot and if you're not cognizant of the entailment.
Well, okay, but there are idiots, aren't there? So it doesn't.
That's not the point. The point is, I'm looking at the entailment of agnosticism. I'm not going to focus on somebody's poor reasoning. No, the entailment of the position. It doesn't matter to me that somebody doesn't connect the dots, Alex.
Well,
but you're saying that they do connect the dots. If they did connect the dots, then what you're saying would follow logically.
The agnostic position entails a contradiction, whether they're cognizant of that or not.
People don't always believe the things that are the logical consequences of their beliefs, right? And that stops your argument from going through. That stops it being a contradiction in agnosticism.
The agnostic position is a contradiction, but not only on that terms, but also on the terms that it is making a claim that it is not making a claim about ultimate reality.
Look, okay,
I'm not making a declaration about ultimate reality.
Can I ask Alex?
And they are.
Can I ask Alex?
We can just clear
yeah,
up, right?
you got to make it fast because I have to go in 1 minute.
Right. So look, I'm saying that the argument doesn't follow logically, just straightforwardly, because there are people who don't understand the implications of their beliefs. Right. But now let's think of someone who does understand the implications of their beliefs, right? Who gets it and says, "Oh, the God who, if he existed, I'd believe that he exists, right? I don't believe he exists, therefore he doesn't exist." They're going to go, and I believe he doesn't exist, right? So if they started off being agnostic, they would understand that it's, they'd update their belief and they'd say, gee, I guess I'm not agnostic about that guy. Right?
Yeah,
I actively am an atheist about that.
And I have to pipe in that's when Darth says, Darth, when you think that my position has changed, that's why. That's the change that I've made. And can I just say one or two things to Alex for a second? So, Alex, you'd agree.
Yeah, that's okay. I have to run an errand. I'll be back in a little while.
Okay. So, Alex, you'd agree, of course, that if we were to say that this further proposition is true, that you believe everything that's entailed by your beliefs, then we can get to a contradiction, right? So if
then you
yeah,
get to the
yeah, because then if the modus tollens that leads you to God doesn't exist, if that's an entailment of your view, and you know all and believe all the entailments of your view, well, then it follows that you believe that he doesn't exist, and now you're going to get a contradiction. It is and isn't the case that I believe he doesn't exist.
Well, you get that you believe that he exists and you believe that he doesn't exist. So it's not that there is a contradiction. It's that you have internally inconsistent beliefs, right? But that's fine. That's not the same thing as there being a contradiction.
Go on to Tom Rabbit's channel, okay?